don't really know because I'm not a good didactic, but you know, from my own point of view, I mean, my journey has been quite long. You know, I really wanted to be a cinematographer for a very long time, and in a way, I have always a feeling that, you know, the moment I really started working, I had been waiting for a very long time to try, and I guess that time that I've spent, you know, doing not so much very important things, but just sticking to the fact that you want to do it, you know, you learn a lot, and you develop yourself in another way, maybe differently than people that learn cinematography in a very short amount of time and then you know, get to work straight away. I mean, somehow that, you know, sort of walking around in your apartment against the walls, not knowing what to do, but still and how to do it, but still wanting to do it. Yeah, gives you some time to think, maybe. I've many people that I respect very much, but I'm a very big fan of you know, my whole life I have really admired Robbie Muller very much. Almost something that a lot of cinematographers have, I think, that I met. This very sort of humble, unprestigious relationship to their work, and that's one thing I also like with Robbie very much, that he was so open, and you just had to feel you can ask him everything, and he would go out having drinks and buy his student drinks, and he really would enjoy that as well. You know, he's not a man of he's not a big talker or a big, you know, philosopher. But once he talks, he always makes so much sense, and he always lets you in those very essential but very intimate feeling parts of relationship with director, for instance, and you know, he's in that way, he's very open, and I think that's a very good way to teach, actually, you know. The reason that I think Thomas got very much inspired by that book was not necessarily the plot. I mean, even though John le Carré is very much about plot, but it was so much about the way that he would paint up this world of MI6, you know, this very sort of hidden, secret world, you know, the way he describes it, and in that way the book becomes almost like a manual, you know. The atmosphere is so apparent and obvious in that book, and it's very dark, that book, in so many ways, and I think that even though the books are very widely known, it's a very sort of unseen way of this spy world. You know, I think that people, when they tell about the spy world, they usually prefer to tell about other aspects that are much more yeah, sensational, you could say. So in that way, that book becomes a big inspiration. Or, you know, you read the book and you smell the rooms, and you feel the atmosphere in the rooms, and you feel sort of the claustrophobia in the rooms, and then you start thinking how to translate this into images, you know. And then, you know, we started looking for not so much for films, because, you know, if you've watched too many films as inspiration for your films, you also end up copying, even though your head is sometimes a database of all films you have loved in your life. But we started looking a lot at stills, you know, a lot of documentary stills from the 70s. There's one book that we really loved. It's called, it's a bit hard to come by. It's called London City of Any Dream by Erwin Fiegler, and it's very long lens documentary shots. They're very grainy, and they're very voyeuristic images, and they're very raw and they're very rough. But they're at the same time they were extremely poetic and very aesthetic in that way. And I mean, if you ask about one of the references or inspiration, that has been a very big one. I mean, we raked the internet to find those books, because you can only get them second-hand. Maybe you find once in a while one on Amazon or in an antique shop somewhere, but But we found some, and we put all the pictures on the wall, and they really became very much, no, not a Bible, but I mean, those pictures breathed really what we wanted to approach a little bit. So we used them, and we used them for color references. We used them for grain as well, because those were very grainy images. I did a lot of tests. I even did tests where we had grain that was as big as the grain on the stills, but somehow a frozen grain that stands still on a still image has a very different meaning than a moving grain on a screen. So we realized that it was so much that we that it was not really usable. There's so the noise on the screen becomes so wild, and so we decided to go for a little milder version, but still, of course, trying to push the envelope as much as we dared. But also, I think the feeling of that grain comes very much from this book. You know, the fact that you have in your image, you have a lot of texture. It was very nice.